Combat helicopters are generally part of the Army rather than the Air Force. Logistically, this makes them particularly well suited to the dangerous mission of carrying out air support in close proximity to friendly forces. The U.S. Army's AH-64 Apache exemplifies this capability.
The AH-64 is the ground commander's weapon. We're integrated into his plan in every way, shape, and form. We know how he thinks. We know how to anticipate where he will best employ us. You don't get that from a close air support aircraft showing up, reporting in on station, and then engaging targets. Having us immediately available gives you the 30-minute string, the on-call capability. It also gives you a great amount of flexibility. With this aircraft, you can conduct surveillance, reconnaissance, armed reconnaissance, a variety of missions. You asked an Air Force pilot to do that, and I don't think you'd get that kind of support.
The 1980s saw the deployment of a second generation of attack helicopters. The premier example of this new class is the Apache. The Apache was specially designed for combat on the modern battlefield. A new generation of weaponry, advanced sensors, and missile guidance gave the Apache unprecedented long-range firepower. The advantages of second-generation attack helicopters, such as the Apache, became obvious in the battles of the First Gulf War.
Its capability to stand off outside the capability of the enemy to see us, number one, and number two, engage us, is just phenomenal. In the case of the Ramallah oil field battle, we started our initial engagements at 6,700 meters out. Those forces never knew who was engaging them. And by the time we took out our fifth or sixth T-72 tank, they generally got the idea that that was not a good place to be, and they left.
At the center of the Apache's weapon systems is the Hellfire missile. The Hellfire is laser-guided rather than wire-guided. Older wire-guided missiles have a maximum range of about 2 miles due to the length of the wire that can be carried. The Hellfire's range is more than double that, thanks to its unique guidance system. A laser designator mounted in the nose fires an invisible beam of intense light at the enemy target. The seeker in the head of the Hellfire zeroes in on the laser light being reflected off the target. This longer range is a critical advantage for attack helicopters. By striking from distances over 5 miles away, their vulnerability to enemy defenses is significantly reduced.
The Hellfire missile, I get ranges out in excess of 8 kilometers if I need it. Just like with any kind of battlefield system, I want to use the weapon that keeps me as far away from the bad guy as possible. And if I can hit him at 8 kilometers with my Hellfire, I can stop at 8 kilometers. He can't even see me at 8 kilometers.
In addition to tanks, the Apache is designed to engage a variety of other targets. Under the nose of the helicopter is a 30mm chain gun that can be used against lightly armored vehicles. On the stub wings are unguided rockets for attacking targets with high explosives. Helicopters are large and noisy. To minimize the visibility of the Apache to enemy forces, it was designed to operate at night. The two unusual devices on the nose of the Apache are the pilot's night vision system, or PNVS, and the Target Acquisition and Designation System, or TADS, used to locate targets and aim its weapons.
The majority of the weapon systems are sighted through the TAD system, which is mounted on the nose of the aircraft. That is basically controlled with the thumb force controller. The Hellfire missiles are sighted through that primarily, either with the laser designator through this aircraft or another aircraft.
Both the nose-mounted sensors contain forward-looking infrared sights, or FLIR. The supercooled sensor of the FLIR senses heat. It can detect a few degrees of temperature difference between objects, making it an ideal night sight. Flying an attack helicopter at high speeds and low altitude in a hostile environment is difficult and risky. To make it easier for the crew to handle all their tasks in such a fast-paced environment, special features were built into the Apache. One of the most remarkable of these is the crew's special helmet.
This is called the IHADS Integrated Helmet and Display System. It's a rather actually sophisticated and expensive piece of equipment that was developed in concert with the Apache to utilize some of the systems on the Apache, mainly the pilot night vision system, the 30mm chain gun cannon, and the pads. Any of these systems can be slaved to the helmet. That you can take these systems and where the pilot is looking, make the weapon system and/or sensor look. This is the HDU, Helmet Display Unit. This is similar to what the Air Force has in the aircraft up on their glare screen. It's a HUD, heads-up display unit, except this mounts into our helmet. Roll it down in front of the eye. We have a crosshair on here that allows us to look in the direction of our target, place the crosshairs on said target, and that's where the rounds should strike.
The Helmet Display Unit provides the pilot flight and weapons symbology. This technology allows the pilot to focus on the mission and flying the Apache rather than searching the aircraft for that information. Shoulder-launched missiles appeared on the battlefield in the 1970s. These missiles pose a growing threat to combat helicopters. The Apache was designed to minimize its vulnerabilities to these weapons. It is equipped with 2 engines so that if one is disabled, the aircraft can continue to fly. In addition, its engines are shrouded to reduce their heat signature, making it more difficult for heat-seeking missiles to track them. Electronic sensors warn the crew if radar-directed weapons are being aimed at them so that protection systems can be activated. These features are enhanced by the crew's tactics.
Technology and tactics is exactly the combination we use. The Apache's has improved technology as far as low infrared signature. We have aircraft survivability equipment, ACE equipment on the aircraft, everything from radar jammers to IR jammers, chaff and flare dispensers. We have an APR-39, a radar warning system that allows me, or tells the aircrew that somebody's looking at me, or somebody's in acquisition, or somebody's in track mode. Use all that technology, and then you use the tactics of the helicopter and Army helicopters of flying low, staying close to the terrain, using terrain to put the terrain between myself and an enemy force, using speed where appropriate, or the opposite of that, using low speed where appropriate. So I don't go blundering into an enemy force. I use low speed, low altitude to find holes around an enemy defense and work my way around an area.
The 1991 Gulf War witnessed the development of new tactics for helicopter warfare. One strategy implemented in the Gulf was the use of a combination of attack helicopters and scout helicopters. The smaller scout helicopters formed the eyes and ears of the team, the Apache the muscle. The scouts look out for enemy missile teams, while the Apache crew concentrated on targeting enemy positions. The scouts, armed with an air-to-air version of the Stinger missile, could also protect the attack helicopter unit from enemy helicopter attack. Apaches proved their value in several key Gulf battles, demonstrating the impact that a small force of helicopters could have in land war. Missile copters preceding the main tank attacks were able to break up Iraqi formations. Under a ceaseless barrage of deadly Hellfire missiles, the Iraqi armor units disintegrated. In 2002, Apaches were an essential element in helping to rid Afghanistan of Al-Qaeda and Taliban forces. The latest version of the Apache is the AH-64D Longbow Apache. Its name stems from the bulbous sensor mounted on top of the rotor assembly, which contains a millimeter wave radar. It's capable of scanning 360 degrees for threats in the air and 270 degrees for ground threats. Costing over $3 million, only 1 in 3 Longbow Apaches need to carry the expensive dome, as the information from the sensors is shared among the battalion. Each Longbow Apache pilot receives data on digital multifunction displays, or MFDs. This radar expands the all-weather capabilities of Apache, even beyond FLIR sensors. It also permits the use of the latest generation of fire-and-forget Hellfire missiles. Such Hellfires do not need laser designation, but home in on the target using an onboard sensor. This combination of advanced technology and novel tactics has made the Apache attack helicopter one of the most potent weapons in modern land warfare. The Longbow flew its first mission in Operation Iraqi Freedom in early 2003 and has since logged thousands of combat hours in support of Allied troops.